One of y'all is gonna be on a cold open talking about titties. Ha 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 ha! It's not gonna be me though.
Thank you for putting into Tackling Tomfoolery. I am Malika Rogers.
I'm Francie Moore.
And I'm A.M. Lewis.
And in between giggles today, we're going to be talking about gratitude. Sort of things for which we are grateful, things, people, places, activities, whatever. And then also sort of how we use those things that make us feel grateful to achieve a certain level of zen, I guess. I don't even use that word any other time. Why I used it now is beyond me. But anyway, AM, this is your baby, this conversation. So I want to start with you. This is your baby, darling. You gave birth to this.
I did not realize that.
It was your idea.
Guys, hold on one second. I'm having a difficulty of technical proportions. Damn. I'm so sorry. Hold on. I went to pause my recording and then started it again, and now I'm playing what I recorded before, which is not. All right. I'm back. Yes, Malika, this was an idea that I had after, the last couple of weeks with natural disasters and the human disaster that is our current sitting president and, the awful mass shooting in Vegas. I just thought, for myself, actually, I kind of need to refocus and change my perspective right now because things feel really heavy and really dark. So maybe think about good things. Think about what I am grateful for. The challenge for me is kind of taking it outside of the traditional things. I am grateful for my family. I am grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for this job and this roof over my head. And really, really noticing things and feeling gratitude for things that I don't maybe typically pay attention to or feel gratitude for. So I do not have a list at this juncture, but that's what I will be trying to think about as we have this conversation, the kind of off the beaten path aspects of gratitude that I know I don't pay a lot of attention to.
When you said that you wanted to talk about this, I was like, fuck that. I don't want to talk about that shit. That's what I said on the inside. And then on the outside, I typed, oh, that's fine.
I'm grateful for that response from you. How about that? I'm grateful for editing.
It's because I've been so, the rage doesn't go away. The rage is sort of, it's permanent resident, which is, I've accepted that. But I'm not always angry, right? And so lately I've been sort of sitting with my anger at all sorts of things. But I've been learning how to be okay with it and how to operate with it, how to accept when I am angry and not feel bad about being angry, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, the reason I was like, now I don't want to talk about that, but also agreed to talk about it is because in my process of trying to, be accepting of when I am pissed off and being okay with my righteous indignation, I've also been working on balancing that so I don't get lost in my anger, but I also take time to make sure I feel it without being bad about it. So that's the reason I was like, yeah, that's a good idea, because I wanted to talk about sort of the balance between, me being genuinely grateful for things, people, places, whatever, and being still disappointed or disgusted or mad or whatever some of the time with what's happening in the world, and also try to balance being grateful with and well, not even balance. I don't like the it could be worse, so I'm grateful for such and such because it could be worse. I don't like the it could be worse way of thinking, because I feel like it takes away people's right to feel how they feel about something. So I don't want to do that either. But anyway, I did make a list, and I'll talk about my list in a moment. But I want to hear from you, Francie. How have you been processing, being grateful in, the midst of the world and all this nonsense?
I don't think I've done a very good job, but something that just occurred to me in the last couple of days was that I do have an immense amount to be grateful for, and maybe my lack of gratitude or my lack of perspective skews how I see and process, the world around me. And so, and I think that's a really good call out, because you do get really focused on what's happening right here and the craziness. I get very caught up. But I do have so much to be grateful for. And I know that we said that it was trite, but I think having a support system to hold you down is I have to count that on my list, because there's so many times when I'm so frustrated and I'll call someone and say, this is just making me really mad, and being able to talk about it and even, talk about it in a way that makes sense. That I feel very grateful for that. I also have an immense amount of gratitude about my body being functional, which is something that when you look around at people, there are lots of people my age and younger who, for whatever reason, are not ambulatory. And, and I never, as long as I can help it, I always want to be able to take advantage of that. And so that's a thing I'm grateful for. But I didn't make a list because I didn't think about it like that. But I just also think, there's a piece of starting every morning where you have a chance to look at it again. Like, Black Alicia says, you could choose to say good morning, God, or good God morning. And I think a lot of the times I don't make that choice. I just, sort of jump up and go with the day. And I think that that's a missed opportunity to be grateful that I really, truly am starting something fresh and new. And so really, when I thought about, I loved the idea of the show because it made me think about all of the things that I probably am not paying attention to that I should be paying attention to, especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing you said, Malika, about it could always be worse is a kind of a gratitude struggle I have professionally. Having been unemployed for close to a year, and then, getting a job and getting back into the workforce, I feel like I'm always supposed to be grateful for whatever job I have, regardless of whether or not that job is fulfilling, whether I feel like I am, using my skills to my best capabilities, whether I like it even. I feel like I'm supposed to be grateful for being able to make a living and take care of myself. Right. And at the same time that I am legitimately grateful. Who doesn't want to not have a job? Right. Who doesn't, who wants to be like, I don't even know. I don't even know where this money for this rent's fixing to come from. I don't know. I had to come up with, no one wants to be in that position. But yet whenever I say, well, I'm grateful for this job, though, it always feels kind of hollow. Like, I am glad that I'm not unemployed. I love this job, though.
And well, let that be the thing you're grateful for, that you're employed.
That I'm employed. See? Now my shit's you made my shit come out now.
That's right.
That's it. I'm grateful to be employed. I'm grateful to be, as my parents would say, making a check. But yeah, I struggle a little bit. But then also the thing that you said, Franzi, about perspective, I think is really, really important. And it's something that I talk to my daughter about a lot, who is a person who is always looking forward to the next thing, the next goal, the next whatever. And we talk a lot about kind of being still and appreciating what you've done thus far instead of just kind of ticking it off and going on to the next thing. But I also feel like, perspective. I was explaining this to someone, I don't know when it was, someone who wasn't a Christian and was kind of anti-theist kind of. And I said, to me, a lot of what Christianity, a lot of the value in Christianity for me anyway, it comes from perspective. And I gave them an example. A non-believer goes to the doctor, they get a cancer diagnosis, it's stage 2. They're trying to figure out their treatment plan and they're like, oh my God, my life, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Oh, cancer, I'm afraid. And while a Christian will be afraid, this is the Christian perspective. I went to the doctor, I got a bad report, but praise God, it was stage 2 and not stage 4. And praise God that I went because I wasn't going to go, but the Spirit told me that something was, just that whole kind of, yes, this is a bad situation, but these things, I actually went, even though I didn't want to. My prognosis isn't as bad as it could be. They got me right in to do chemo, radiation, surgery, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have a family history, so that's good. I do have a family history, so I went in early and we kind of know what to expect. I try to apply that, and I know it's not just Christians who do that, but that is, to me, like whenever you hear a testimony in church of somebody who went through something or had, a negative experience, that's typically kind of the spin that it takes. I try to do that as much as possible, kind of adjust my perspective so that I'm not so dire, all the time. And I find it helpful for the most part. Sometimes the perspective doesn't change. And I feel like on those times, I think at those times, that's a time where I shouldn't, that's the time where I need to sit in it. That's the time where I need to own it and work through it and then get to the point where my perspective can change, And
I think sometimes you have to help your perspective change. I'll never forget, I once went to this holiday party and there was a woman who and you could tell she was the kind of person who, when she put her holiday lights in, she's probably like my mom, where she kept the original plastic thing and wound around carefully. And these lights were a mess. And so she was working on them and kind of getting a little bit frustrated. And then she said aloud, I'm in the middle of a party that I'm enjoying, and I'm going to hang these lights, and I'm not going to let these lights take me out of my happy place. And so it was like, you could just see, like she didn't say it loudly. She just, was kind of, she's just saying, oh man, I can't get this. And then she's like, no, let me fix the way I'm talking to myself. And I really like that, because I am the kind of person who gets I am kind of vocal and I get spun out in the moment. Like Google Maps does not work walking other places the way that it works at home. And my sister was like, it's okay. What happens if we walk the wrong way? It's like, no, it's not working. It's not working. And I wasn't mad. And it wasn't like I was going to be in a bad mood. But she's like, but you're so spun out. And I didn't feel like I was spun out. But she's like, but you're making such a big deal about the maps not working. And what's the consequence of the maps not working? We just have to pay more careful attention. And I think when you don't shift that, for me, self-talk is huge. And if you don't shift that, then it's hard for your perspective to change. I totally agree with you, AM. Sometimes you do have to say, this is where I am on this. I just found out I have stage 2 cancer. So I just need to sit with this for a moment and stop trying to make it like it's better than it is. But sometimes it is, I'm letting myself go to a place that I don't have to go because this is not where I am yet,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I avoid the it could be worse thing as much as possible. I grew up hearing that and heard it. Well, people still say it around me, to me. But now I refuse to subscribe to that thinking. Not because a situation might not be worse than it is. It is just because when people say that, they don't usually say it to snap you out of your negative thinking or to remind you that you might be bad off, but it's fixable. People usually say it to strip you of your opportunity to feel however you need to feel. And that's why I don't like it. And that's why I don't say it to people. And frankly, somebody else having it worse doesn't make my pain less, my suffering less, my hurt less. It doesn't. It just means somebody else is also having a shitty time, but it doesn't. Yeah. Like if I'm grieving and they say it could be worse, such and such, it doesn't bring back whoever I lost.
Right.
Or whatever I lost. It doesn't do that. It is nothing. So, and don't tell me that I don't get to be mad or sad or pissed or grief stricken. So that's why I don't fool with it. But I do think there is a way to not fool with it and to feel grateful for whatever is working to my advantage. So my list is brief, and I'm not going to expound upon it really. So I picked unconventional things because I'm kind of unconventional. And anyway, so drinks and liquid lunch. I'm grateful for that. And not even in a way to be funny, but a lot of times when I'm, I don't work a job I love. I don't work in an atmosphere I love. And I'm working on fixing that, right? But in the meantime, there are some days that are challenging and some issues that come up in the workplace that stress me. And so it feels good to be able to step away at lunchtime to go to a place where I feel comfortable and welcomed and safe and have a drink. So liquid lunch is, I love liquid lunch for that reason, that I get to come down when I'm there, and I like that. Conversations with people I love. I'm grateful for those. And pretty soon I'll be doing this. I'll be incorporating meditation into my day in the near future. So now I don't meditate, but I do have moments where I sit quietly and think about stuff. And sometimes that puts me in a better space. So I'm going to make it some kind of official, more structured kind of thing in the future. Music. I'm super grateful for music that helps me to keep my mind in a good place. Writing is helpful. And then babies. I love babies. And when I hear babies laughing or watch them out playing and having a good time, that always makes me feel better. I've never come across a group of little ones and didn't feel better about whatever was going on with me. And actually, there's an on-site child care center at my job. And so sometimes when I come outside, if the babies are out playing and I hear them laughing and screaming and having the best time, that makes me feel so much better about whatever I have going on. And then lastly, podcasting. This is cathartic to me. And even when we're talking about something where maybe I don't feel like I got my research in, or I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, and I feel stressed about it or whatever, once it is happening, the conversation, the interaction, and the creating something that we're going to share with other people is a good thing. I'm grateful for that. So that's my list.
That's a good list. And I love the way the babies sound when they're on the playground. It's one of my favorite sounds. I always said on that James Lipton survey, it's like, what's your favorite sound? That definitely is just screaming for no good reason in that high-pitched voice. It makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to work behind an elementary school, and sometimes at lunch, I would drive around. I'd get something to eat and then drive and park, not in front of the school, but kind of back, kind of down from the school, but you could see the field where the kids play, like it would be lunchtime recess, and they would be out there getting their whole baby life. And it always made me feel, even if I wasn't having a bad day, hearing those kids laughing and playing and running around and calling each other's names, and it really is one of the best things ever. That and little toddler little baby laughs. Oh, so good. It just makes life feel pure again.
Yeah.
For a minute.
Yeah. You get to be in the presence of people who aren't dealing with all the shit yet. And I like that. And I like that they don't have to, they're not stressed out. They're not worried. Nope. They're not, whatever. They're just in that moment. And even if some of them don't have the ideal circumstances when they leave that school, in that moment, they're like free and they act like they're free. And I like that. And it makes me feel better.
Yeah. I guess if I was going to come up with a list, well, let me try to come up with a list that's, a little off the beaten. And you guys know I'm grateful for coffee. I'm always grateful for coffee and breakfast with friends. You also know, I believe that as much as I'm not a morning person, if there's anything that will get me out of bed on a Saturday morning, it is hey, what you doing? You want to go have breakfast? Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
I too, Francie, am grateful for being relatively able-bodied. I mentioned this on another show. I have a chronic inflammatory illness that can be very, very severe in some people. And while it has caused me some issues, it has not been life-changing for me in any way. I'm still able to work. I'm still able to do all the things that I want to do. Maybe with just, I have to be a little bit smarter about how I expend my energy and have to take medication. But yeah, I am grateful for that. Very, very grateful. And every time, it's interesting. Every time I go for a walk at work, I am reminded of it, because there was a time where, I don't know, it was last year, I think, I had trouble with my knee and my foot. And I had to park quite a distance and rely on someone to help me get to my car and hope nobody was going to ask me to go do something in the hospital, because my knee was so bad, I couldn't bend it. I couldn't bend my leg. So then, and I work in a 2-story building without an elevator. So I had never had anything like that happen before. So since it happened, every time, sometimes even when I'm just going up the stairs at work, I'm grateful that I can. And I kind of skip, I put a little, sprinkle a little extra on it because I can. All right. And then, there's the basic things. I'm very grateful for my family and my friends. I am grateful that I'm loved, I think, I am very grateful for that in all of the different forms that it comes to me, because God knows there are people who want that in their lives in any of the forms that I have it, and don't, and even though people you love can also make you want to go upside their head sometimes, it's still love, at the end of the day, you still know there are people who want the best for you and care about you and, who will, if called, be there for you when you're sad or you're scared or you're upset, or even when you're excited and you want to share something,
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll listen to this and be like, damn it, I forgot to say such and such. But right now, this is my list.
Well, I wouldn't be me if I didn't add delicious food, because I think everybody knows that I'm always grateful for delicious food. But also, I think there's something to be said about the rejuvenating factor I am of being with those people and getting that energy and keeping those people close, especially in times such as these, when the world is crazy and falling apart. And even though there's a chapter in Deals with the Devil where Pearl talks about Beverly Johnson's boots she has on. I can't remember what the boots are. They're like maybe red or silver. Like there's some sort of, spectacular pair of boots. And she talks about how even people who are fighting for the cause need to take time to be with, their homegirls and celebrate and look at somebody's amazing shoes and say, you better do that, and I think that's sort of where we are right now, where you have to work extra hard, like we were talking about earlier, to make sure that you are, bolstered for this fight.
Yeah. I think the last time I started rereading Deals with the Devil, that's the chapter I ended on. It's a conversation about those. So obviously, it's important to get into a space where you can feel however you're feeling in the moment, even if you don't feel super grateful. But you also understand there are things that anchor you and people that anchor you and places that anchor you.
Yeah.
So, and to like I said, create the balance where you don't feel deprived of being grumpy or mad or sad or grief-stricken when you feel that way, but you also know that there are things for which you are grateful, people for which you are grateful. So, awesome. Even though I was grumpy at first thinking about it, like I said, I did think it was an important conversation to have. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, AM. Great idea.
Word. A little something for the people.
Yeah. And we thank you all for listening and for tuning in to Texting Tomfoolery. I am Malika Rogers.
I'm Francie Moore.
And I'm AM Lewis. We're also grateful for whoever's listening to us.
Thanks for listening.
Yay.